Johnny Fontana, Real World INFJ, back with another video.
The basic translation is this. Hey Max, aka I'm experiencing a glimpse into a new possible future. I'm experiencing a glimpse into a potential new me with a lot of great opportunities. But, and then back to negativity, the translation of that is, this is getting a little bit uncomfortable, this kind of new me. I'm not sure if I like that. I'm gonna go back to the negativity because that is the spot that I know. That is my old identity. I'm safe here.
This video is gonna be nice and short, 20 minutes long. I know sometimes I get carried away, but we're gonna condense this, 2 topics, and of course I'm going to provide you my visual illustrations as well, but just for the sake of keeping everyone's attention, I'm gonna nicely wrap it down so that we can get all that information and then just sort of box it all in and give you the bigger picture as well as drill in onto the details, right? So 2 topics. The reverse INFJ door slam, as well as the 3 different types of INFJs, okay? I've received a couple emails, actually about 5 or 6 emails on explaining in further detail the 3 types of INFJs. And also I've been just going through different websites and speaking to different individuals online in terms of what the door slam is, right? But there's also another factor, which is the reverse INFJ door slam. Now, again, this is from my perspective as one of the 3 types of INFJs. I am the field operative, okay? So therefore, I see things differently. It's based on my interpretation, based on how I see things. Therefore, okay, if you do not subscribe to my interpretation, then that's fine, okay? But if you do, so be it. Now, let's get into it. First of all, before we get into the reverse INFJ's door slam, let's just talk briefly about the INFJ door slam. From there, that will lead into the reverse, okay? And then from there, that will be a nice segue into the different types of INFJs, and it all will link in, right? So I have to give you the big picture, and then from there, drill in on the details so you can be like, oh, okay, now I see. INFJ door slam is basically when you have exhausted all possibilities in dealing with people or a situation. Now, the reason why it's a door slam, okay, remember, it's according to my interpretation and my experiences, is because you've exhausted so much energy, okay, in particularly with people, in dealing with them on various levels and being overly taxed, being overly pressed, okay, emotionally, physically, okay, you name it. Now, there are so many underlying factors, so many nuances, okay, in which applies to this door slam. Not everyone gets it, which you'll understand as pertains to the different types of INFJs, right? The central idea of the door slam is that introverted intuitive feelers have a way of extending ourselves to people. No matter what form we come in, okay, from the outer point, no matter how we may look aggressive, we may seem, very volatile, okay, forget about that. It's how we express ourselves, okay, our go-to factors. So my go-to factor, as it pertains to my particular type, is that I am extremely forgiving, rewarding. Now, I, will extend all of this to the point where I even forget why I'm mad at an individual. But here's the process though, okay? It's like a threshold, it's like a piston, okay? By where it's just a constant motion, okay? Now, this piston, right, represents the interaction, okay? Between the negative energies, that which is being presented by that individual, and yourself, okay? Or myself in this case. So now, over the years, I'll give you an example. Over the years, okay, growing up, okay, I was met with a lot of just he said, she said, just a lot of mistrust, a lot of back and forth, okay, between myself and my siblings, my stepmother, and so forth and so on. And that basically created a lot of tension, a lot of just animosity on certain levels, okay? And a lot of just dwelling on like, why am I being treated like this? Why am I being treated like the black sheep? Because of who I am, the analytical type, okay? Just that threshold, okay? Now, but every time, okay, something happens, I just sling back, okay? Because again, that threshold. And from there you start to rationalize. You're like, oh, well, you know, it's just, that's who they are. You can't really blame them. That's just, so you're forced because we see the positive in things, okay? Because we see the future. So it's not like we look at the present and we're like, oh, this person is bad and this person is going to be bad for the rest of their lives, okay? It's like they did what they did, but there is a reason for it. This rationalizing also takes place inside forums. So for example, you have the different types, which I'll explain. The different types of INFJs will go into the websites or forums and say, oh, there's, you know, INFJs are not emotional. There's no such thing as an INFJ door slam. Yes, an INFJ, self-identified INFJ, which most likely that person is TI heavy, because when you do the research, when you connect the dots, when you see that person, what they do for a living, how they express themselves, how they self-identify, because they always catch themselves, okay, if you do follow the trail, they end up being that logical, more TI, less FE. So they don't have the patience for a lot of the other stuff. So they'll come in and they'll say these things, right? Rah, 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 rah.
Very good example of more academically or intellectually oriented INFJ, kind of filling the shoes of or the role that an INTJ would normally fill. And I think that my friend INFJ also chose the academic path, has an underdeveloped FE just like me.
But then you have the other types who will then rationalize, okay? They're on the opposite end. They'll rationalize the behavior and say, oh, well, this is that, you know, the reason why, what have you. Not really understanding that there are negative effects to this rationalization. Here's an example.
So I have the sense that my colleagues would think it sophisticated to give a bully your lunch money so that he would go away and have lunch. And they don't realize that that results in the bully coming back the next day and seeing if maybe you have anything else of value in addition to your lunch money, like your watch. So yes, my colleagues seem addicted to paying bullies, and then what the rest of the faculty do in response does tell me there's something wrong, and that what you're hoping will happen and what I have hoped would happen, which is that as people are increasingly asked to do things that are intolerable, that more and more of them would stand up. I've seen very little of that.
Okay, so when you have someone like me, one type of the INFJ, out of the three, I'll come in and I can see both sides. I can be like, okay, well, here you go, this, that, and third. But I will also be met with that rationalizing. It's like, oh, well, you know, what have you. And I get it. Okay, so that part I get. So again, you're met now with whoever you're dealing with, whatever situation you're dealing with, okay, that constant, okay, I'll give it another try. Something happens here, oh man, okay, give it another try. But again, it's like a piston. And now, the more interactions, or it may not be the more, it may be the more, the more, in terms of type of interaction, okay, so the more meaningful, okay, the more stressful, okay, the more pain that is caused, okay, will now cause that sort of piston, so sort of drive harder. But now, when that piston is met, okay, at a certain threshold, there is no longer, okay, of that outward trajectory. It's going to now, instead of expanding, it's going to sort of the expansion is going to be less. So basically, you're going to be like met with, okay, he did something, or she did something, or this is a situation, and then boom, and then slowly the thing keeps going because you keep forgiving, you keep seeing the better half. You're like, oh no, it's going to be better, 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 it's going to be better. Oh, whatever, what have you? Okay, I get it. We'll move on, we'll move on, we'll move on, we'll move on, we'll move on. And next thing you know, you're at that threshold. You're at that threshold, and we're just like, you know what? I just can't deal with it because I gave you too many chances. I'm gonna slam the door, and that's that. Here's the difference between those who say, like the INFJs who say, oh, there's no such thing as an INFJ door slam. It's because since they have that TI, they don't have the FE, because the FE takes precedence. They aren't too much into the whole feeling and interaction. So for them, it's like cut it off straight, boom, concrete, boom. Whereas us with the feelers, we give chances because we feel, because we're always trying to figure out where someone's coming from. Oh, well, see, he's coming from this place. You're always given a benefit, right? It's always optimism. Oh, boy, he does that. I get it. I know, I get where you're coming from, but, you know, it's like, this is why he's doing it. So you rationalize because, again, that whole, whatever that comes in, the bigger picture, this is why that person is doing it, not realizing, like I gave an example, that the actions that person is, you know, or whatever that person is doing may have a negative effect, not only onto that person if continued, but on other persons as well. Now, here comes the reverse now. The reverse door slam, because I had my door slam, okay, by where I door slammed my how you call it? I door slammed my my siblings, okay. It was tough, okay, but again, over the years, about just 20 years of having to deal with the he said, she said, not them having not having my back, me seeing them from a different way of life, having just different interactions. And one incident, and then I realized, okay, it's done. Now, same thing with someone else, okay? I had that same situation in which that I was just met with, I am done with that individual. Now, the reverse door slam comes in where you, after you've door slammed that individual, you now are met with, you know, having to deal with that individual. Okay, now, a lot of the times the door slam, okay, helps the individual when you are in a different location, okay? So by you placing yourself away, distancing yourself from that individual, it helps to create that separation where you don't have to constantly deal with that individual. Because for me, whenever like I door slam an individual, or I really do it, but whenever something happens, it's like I don't really like tension. I don't really like any of that crazy nonsense. So I'm always the first person to say I'm sorry. If I get upset at you, if I say something, whatever, I'll be like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, just because I just don't like that eerie feeling. Because again, I feel these things. I feel the tension. Whereas other people, they have blinders. They can just go on and say they say something, whatever, and they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Don't be in your feelings, bro. Well, for me, it's like I'm in my mind trying to figure out, hey, is this person this or that person what? Or if that person does something, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that person did that because they're trying to move away from the situation. So it's like, oh my God, like why? So here's the thing now, as it pertains to the reverse INFJ door slam, you have a situation by where you'll be met with, okay, hey, I have to deal with this person again, or that person came up to me and that person apologized, or that person, for whatever reason, after the distance, after time has gone by. Now you're like, okay, I'm going to open up that door. But guess what? Because of the fact that you are constantly aware, because you shut that door, slam so hard, you'll open that door up, but that door will come back, boom. Why? Because, again, think about it. You've exhausted all your energies, right? And you've reached your threshold. Now you're here. Now this is where the pain sticks, which means that when you try to open up that door, you remember, oh man, that thing happened, boom, comes back. Oh, will you try again? Well, I was thinking I'm going to let you back in. Boom, You see what I'm saying to you? So because you're being reminded of that situation. Okay. Now here's where the intuitive, intuitive feelers get caught up. If you don't have the proper guidance, because the reverse door slam can lead two ways.
And to get on a whole deeper level with you is, this is something many people have, is you are addicted. This is the second part. You are addicted to negative emotions. You are. You feel alive and you feel identified with your negative emotions. That's the reason. In fact, look, if you want to dive deeper into that, we can do that real quick. If you want to dive deeper into that, you feel identified with a negative state, not with a positive state. Okay? If you're in a good mood, if you find yourself in a positive state, it's good, but it freaks you out because that's not you. Because you only feel yourself when you feel negative emotions. This is a very, very deep issue. Okay? Many people have that. I used to have that. I have it sometimes.
So now, instead of now saying, I'm going to close it, shut it down, it's like you are looking, because it's reversed now. Now it's like you no longer have that individual. You're not used to whatever. You're not, what do you call it again? That whole interaction of like door slamming, go away, move, whatever, is no longer there. Now you seek it. You're like, oh, well, it's no longer there. I need it. So now you keep opening it, but then you remember, oh man, this is not good. Boom, close it. Oh, it's not good. Close it. But what happened is that now, because just like, it's like you're addicted to that, right? Because it's like that's who you are. It's your life. You're just constantly going back to it, even though you door slammed it. You're like, I'm done. Like it's a wrap. Because prior to that, you didn't really door slam. Yeah, you said no, but it's just like after like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you just forgot. Like for me, like I door slammed my father because of situations, and I was like, so at one point after I door slammed him, I was like, man, like why did I door slam him? Like, is there a reason why I did? And everyone was like, yeah, there was a reason. You had the absolute right to do it. But in my mind, I'm like, why? Why did I do it? Now here's the thing. After now I opened the door, guess what? Things changed. He changed. I changed. So for the past 4 or 5 years now, everything has been perfect. Okay? So, but again, sometimes, because again, the effects, okay, the residual effects of what happened, sometimes I can be on guard. But because of my exposures, because of who I am, again, a lot of these things play. I tend not to allow this to sort of ruin the moment. Okay? But again, if that person didn't change, if that other person didn't change and now repeats it or fakes you, you're going to come back to this. And then you're going to come back and that person fakes it. And then you're going to come back and that person fakes it. The manipulator fakes it, fakes it, fakes it. Next thing you know, you're going to come looking for it. Oh, where is that? Because I need that whole swinging effect. It's so weird.
Because it is, again, oh my God, I'm about to get in that next level identity, but I don't know that. So it's kind of this fear of the unknown that drags you back, that creates this like sense of gravity that drags you back into your old little self. But what I always say is, I always say the following, this is some kind of Jedi shit here. Let the unknown create fear. Let fear create adversity. Go through that adversity and let that adversity create self-confidence, but because that's what confidence is. Confidence is not this like conglomerate of positive influence of people patting you on the shoulder. No, confidence is adversity, going through that adversity, and creating this deep sense of self that tells yourself, I can overcome that no matter what. It is, again, adversity that gets you over that.
Okay, but again, if you're unhealthy, you're going to look for it. If you're healthy, you're going to open the door because this is who we are, right? We don't be like, all right, I'm done. Like my father, he is an ENTP. It's like, when I'm done with you, I'm done with you. Forget about it. Don't even think about coming back. For us, it's like, we'll say that, but you really know. You say the right thing to us. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But again, doing it too much, two things can happen. I'd be like, you're hugging. Okay, you know, then you go back. But if that hug happens too much, then you start looking because you're going to be used to that hug, because you're going to want something. So it's like a reverse. It's very weird. So when it comes to the door slam, again, it's just basically that you reach that threshold and you say, I'm done, because you've exhausted all your feelings, okay? Everything, okay? The pistons just ran out of oil. A lot of the T-types, which we'll get into, they don't get it because they don't experience that, because for them it's like, what? Forget about it. I'm not even going to waste my time. It doesn't even make sense to do that. Like, that person hurt you. Why would you go back to that? Very logical thinking.